First principle we want to try to apply here is overload. So the idea is our body goes through a certain amount of work each day, but in order for us to call it overload, the muscles got to contract harder than normal so that it'll become stronger, but it also must work against a greater force than it normally does every day in order to become stronger, which means you got to add some weight. So maybe it's 10 pounds dumbbells. These are my dumbbells. I'm an excellent drawer here, so there they are. Or maybe it's more or less depending on what exercise you're doing. Next up, we have the principle of progression. So the idea is that I overload my body and my body will start to respond to that overload and gain muscle. And when that happens, I need to change the overload again, and I change it through changing any of the parts of fit. So again, that would be frequency, intensity, time, or type. Type meaning the type of exercise that I do. One thing that's important to know here is that it needs to be a gradual change, not all at once. Don't expect too much from yourself too early, but keep it challenging. The slower you really progress, the less likelihood you have of becoming injured. The double progressive system is a way of talking about how I should change what I'm doing in terms of lifting. So maybe I'm going to do shoulder press. So I'll do a shoulder press, and I'm going to start with 3 sets of 8 repetitions, and I'm going to use 20 pounds to start with. The double progressive system is first, it's going to change my repetitions. So maybe as I progress, maybe what it's going to look like in a couple weeks is I'm going to do 3 sets of 10, and then maybe I go up to 3 by 12, and I have to determine what my highest number of reps that I would want to do is going to be, and I would say 12 will be mine. So once I get to 12, that tells me that the 20 pounds is no longer really the right weight for me. So what I'll do then is go up, and I'll go to 25 pounds. And when I do that, then I will go back down in reps, back down to trying to get 3 by 8. And once I can do that, I start progressing again with the repetitions. So first I change the reps, and then once I've met my maximum number of reps, then I'll change the weight that I'm lifting. And that's the double progressive system. Next up is specificity, and specificity, remember, is making sure that you're working the muscles you want and getting out of a workout what you want to get out of it. Really, there's 2 ways to talk about specificity with muscle fitness. One is, what muscles am I working? And secondly is, what is my goal? And your goal could be any of these things. It could be to put on strength, it could be to bulk up, it could be to tone or to lose weight. Depending on what your goal is, that's how you would set up your workouts. You want your workout to match your goals, or to match the muscles that you're trying to work out. One thing we add here is rest and recovery. Muscle fitness is a little different than every other type of component of fitness. With muscle fitness, it's pretty important that you give those muscles time to recover and rebuild, because basically what you're doing is you're making mini tears in your muscle every time that you lift, so they do need time to repair themselves. So the way this usually works is you're going to do a workout, and you might only do 3 a week, so you might go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you could, if you're doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, do the same workout on each one of the days. If you wanted to, you could break up your workout, so maybe you're doing 8 to 10 exercises. So maybe on Monday you do 4, and then on Tuesday you do the other 4 exercises they're not using the same muscles. They're using different muscle groups. So when you're using different muscle groups, Then you can work out maybe every day if you wanted to, although 7 days a week is a little excessive. So we have a variety of considerations to think about when we weight train, but a couple of things that are going to help you be injury free or more properly progress throughout your weight training experience are, one is make sure that you warm up ahead of time, and this only gets more important the older you get, but it also is very, very, very important for people who are maybe not in the best of shape. Secondly, you're going to focus on endurance in the beginning, meaning when I first start working out, I first want to focus on endurance and build up an endurance base. Once I have an endurance base, then I can start thinking about strength. The third thing on here, anytime that I have a concentric muscle contraction, so if it's concentric, that means the shortening of the muscle, that's when I am going to exhale. So whenever that primary muscle is shortening, that's when I'm exhaling. And then when the primary muscle is lengthening, I'm going to go ahead and inhale. You want to make sure you breathe. The more you breathe, the better contractions you can get, and the faster you actually gain muscle. Learn what the proper form is before you add any real big weight. The first thing you have to do is teach yourself how to move. You didn't start sprinting or walking upstairs before you learned to walk on the ground on a flat surface. So the first thing you got to do is teach yourself the form of whatever lift you're going to try to do, and then you should be able to add some type of load to that, or resistance, or weight is what we're referring to. Last thing, again, make sure we use proper form, but not only that, you want to move through a full range of motion. The big thing that this is going to help you with is your flexibility. If you move through a full range of motion, you will keep flexibility. If you don't, you won't. So now we know a little bit about kind of some considerations with weight training. Now we want to start to set up a workout. First off, when we set up a workout, we always want to have muscle balance. So we want to make sure that I'm working muscles on both sides of the joint. So if I worked my hamstrings, I would make sure that I worked my quads. If I worked my pecs, I would want to make sure that I worked my lats, so front and back. If I work my biceps, I want to make sure I work my triceps. There's an opposite or opposing muscle in each one of these situations, and if you're working those muscles equally, you're going to have what we refer to as muscle balance. Muscle balance is important because it's going to decrease injury or strain on those muscles, especially if you have one muscle that's a lot stronger than the opposite muscle. That weaker muscle is more likely to be injured or strained. Next up, when we set up our exercises, the exercise sequence is very important here. The two things you want to put at the beginning of your workout are your large or major muscle group exercises and a multiple joint exercise. An example of a multiple joint exercise would be something like a squat or a bench press or a push-up. That would be a multiple joint exercise. So there's more than one. There are multiple joints that are moving at one time with that. Single joint is going to be smaller stabilizing muscles. Those should come after. So first up, you go large muscle groups in multiple joint type exercises, and then next up towards the end of your workout are going to be those single joint exercises, mainly for your biceps, triceps, and calves or gastrocnemius. And then you'll finish up your workout with your core, because your core supports your whole body in basically every exercise that you do. So just a couple things when you're setting up a program. You want to start with a full body program. The first few times through, or maybe the first few weeks, or whatever, we want to do 1 or 2 sets of 12 reps for every major muscle group, and then we're going to change our exercises every 4 to 8 weeks to keep our muscles a little bit confused and continuing to build on themselves. They get kind of bored with the same thing again and again. They kind of need some new excitement. And it also recruits different muscle fibers to do different types of exercise. The last couple of reps should be pretty challenging, And we already talked about this. This comes back to that double progressive system that we had talked about earlier. So, and you can go back and review that in an earlier slide if you need to. Couple big things here. If you have bad form in what you're doing, you want to lower the weight so that you can focus on the form and increase your range of motion and strengthen those parts of the lift that are weak. And when you do increase weight, you don't want to increase by more than 10%. Usually what that's going to mean is between 2 and 5 pounds most times when we increase is what we're looking to do. So between 2 and 5 pounds. If you're a person that, maybe wants to get a little bit of an aerobic benefit or cardio benefit out of strength training, one type of training you can do is circuit training. The big idea with circuit training is that you're not resting very long and you're continually working. And there's a lot of options on how to set it up, but the whole idea is that rest is short and you're really getting in a full body workout. You can work on the circuit 2 or more times, and the truth of the matter is you'll get a little bit of aerobic conditioning, but it's not going to be that great. So if you're going to set up a muscle fitness program for yourself, a few things you want to think about. First off, you want to think about, why am I doing this? What type of equipment do I have available to me? What's the space I can use, and how much do I actually know about what I'm doing? These things are going to help tell you kind of how to set things up. You want to include 1 to 2 major exercises for each major muscle group. You're going to go through and determine the order, remembering that multiple joint exercises and major muscle group exercises are first, followed by those supplementary exercises. You're going to have a goal of either endurance, strength, or maybe you're going for a little cardio and endurance. And whatever your goal is going to help you figure out what are your sets and reps going to look like and how much rest time are you taking. After that, write it down so that you have it and be consistent with what you do. Good luck on your muscle fitness program.